But Arun, at Axis Securities, what are you guys thinking? 52-week high was taken out today. You think 9,000 is just a matter of time?
I think the best part is that there is no negative trigger as of now, and there is enough liquidity. If you look at the mutual fund flows in the recent times, and I think that has been great. What I feel is that Indian financial markets now have got their dependence from FII flows in the true sense. I know that FII flows are important, but the way DIS are putting money and mutual funds are getting inflows, that is huge. That is liquidity part. Second, the Q3 results were also not that bad. People were expecting that these results are going to be worse and there will be a lot of negative surprises, but I think more or less people were pleasantly surprised. So there is a positivity all around. So I think that is the major reason. And once the GST kicks in, once the effect of demonetization is more or less gone, now you don't find people waiting outside the banks and there is no queue at the ATM. So I think the positives will now kick in, and market will obviously discount it before others. So the positivity should be there and market should inch up from here.
But Arun, are you circumspect at all about anything? For example, how much credence would you give to the argument that maybe the market is running a little ahead of the fundamentals? It's not like the fundamentals are really supporting it. And what about valuations? Aren't things getting a little expensive?
See, if you look at forward FY18, it is around 17, and maybe for FY17 it's 19, but it is gone more or less. But the valuation wise, I think we were doing some exercise, and if you look at 2008, and that time if we look at Sensex at 100, that time the mid cap index become 120 and small cap become 160. If we apply the same formula today, so if Sensex is 100, mid cap has become 40, but the small cap is 115. So I think the market will peak out when the small cap index goes past and look at a higher number. That kind of irrational exuberance has not set in. So I think there is enough juice left, and people should make use of the opportunity if there are any. Let's say if there is a Fed rate hike coming in March mid. So these will be some triggers which may give you some opportunities to look at some good sectors or good stocks. So I think that is going to be an opportunity for the retail investors. So valuation wise, we are comfortable.
Right. Jay, let's bring it back to the technicals. And, the bank Nifty today also the star performer somewhat before cooling off, topping 21,000. Again, from a medium to long term perspective, you've said that you expect it to top 23,000. Is that going to happen in tandem with the Nifty?
It's take lead. It's actually hit a record highs ahead of the Nifty. I think it's time for it to take a bit of a breather. Okay. And but we are likely to see some kind of sector rotation come through, and we probably the bank Nifty will wait for the Nifty to catch up before going on to the next leg. We could see an extreme short-term correction come through in the bank Nifty. But if you are looking at stocks within the banking space, look at stocks which have not yet performed as well as HDFC Bank or the S Bank. Not that HDFC or S Bank don't have much more upside, but we always focus on the risk. If you're able to take much lower risks on other stocks which have not participated, and they are likely to take the banking index to record highs like we had projected beyond 23,000. So look at something like an SBI, something like a Axis Bank. They are yet to scale highs made in 2016. So that'll be taken out, but we are looking for a short-term breather to come through in the index.
Jay, what I understand from you is that overall you still remain constructive on the market, but because of the sharp run-up, you don't rule out some profit taking. Talk to us, what could be the extent of this profit taking which you're indicating at? How much, in percentage terms or in terms of, absolute points on the Nifty, Bank Nifty? and what should the strategy be? How should people reposition themselves in that decline?
Okay, a couple of points here. See, basically, it's a correction. It's an anticipation. The market need not cooperate with our analysis. But the major point should be that we are looking at the record highs of 9119 getting taken out. If a short-term correction comes through, that will be another opportunity. But in terms of markets, correcting in the short term, we won't be bothered as long as the market stays above 8450. That's quite a bit of downside for the market to play at this current juncture, and at the same time relieve any excess weight the market is carrying at this point of time. As I said earlier, it need not come through, but if it does come through, be ready to prepare for it. And you look at it. We also look at the markets from a psychological perspective. Even at this point of time, when the markets are rallied from 7,800 odds, we are still looking at big players and fund managers questioning the market's move and being skeptical and pessimistic about it. That is what is pushing the market higher. As long as this kind of pessimism is persisting in the market, we can see the market scaling to record highs.
Oh yes, that's correct. The market is climbing the wall of worry, as they say. But let's talk about the broader markets, Jay, because to give them their due, almost a week ahead of 52-week high on Nifty, the Nifty Junior, Mid Cap and the Small Cap, they were already way beyond their 52-week highs. In fact, multi-year highs, all-time highs. Talk to us about some ideas which may propel higher from the Mid Cap end of the market. Traders generally here in India are very keen to do trend spotting there.
Yeah, fair point. See, when a market is healthy, you should see a broader participation. It's not surprising that the smaller indices have actually gone to record highs ahead of Nifty. That's an indication that the market is seeing a very broad level of participation. That's exactly what a healthy market should do. So, if you want to look at names at this point of time, a lot of stocks have actually moved, and there's still room for it. You can look at something like Thomas Cook from the financial space. And I think it's got quite a bit of upside from current levels. I think it's going to go to record highs from here. It's currently placed at about, say, 190 or around just below 200. I think the stock is good for about 280. So that's a considerable bit of upside from here. And, I don't know if I recall exactly mentioning to you about IT being a contrarian bet in November. I think I did mention that. And we are beginning to see the early stages of that. And if you look at something like Tata Elxsi, I think it's going to go to somewhere around 2,500. And that's quite a bit of upside from the current levels. I think at this point of time, these two names should be, a considerable bets from the current levels onwards.
Without a doubt, Jay. Let's ask Arun then one last question that we have time for. Arun, what is your own sense? Where is there more money to be made, say, over the next 2 years? Is it going to be some of the mid caps that Jay just walked us through, or is the leadership going to come from the large caps?
Again, it depends on the profile. Mid caps, you have to do your homework, and obviously, if you do your homework properly, if you look at the management, if you look at the product, if you look at the economic moat, if you look at the entry barriers, and if you look at the financial numbers, and if you have that wherewithal, mid caps will obviously give you better return. But if you are not that smart, and if you are not able to take the help of a good financial advisor, then even large cap also should give you good money. The idea is that you should be in equity. Equity is the main mantra, whether you get it into the stocks or you get it into the mutual fund, but equity you should.
All right, gentlemen, Jay and Arun, both of you, thank you so much for taking time out for us and, walking us through your market strategies. Lots of money-making ideas that are coming in from Jay for the medium term. Let's move on and talk about one more stock that was in focus, that was Bharti Airtel, surging today to a 17-month high on the back of course, its acquisition of Telenor. Remember, ET now told you first, and now it is official. Bharti will indeed buy Telenor's India operations, and that